In this video, we'll have a look at vacating a tenancy. When a tenancy is finished, we need to vacate the tenancy. To do this, we go into the tenancy screen and we select the client we wish to vacate. In this example, it's time for Gary Talent to move out, and we click on the vacate function up the top here. We get a warning message that says, "This client is in arrears. Do you want to continue with the vacancy?" And we can see that Gary is in arrears here of $225. If we click yes, we will get a warning message that tells us that the rent is not calculated to today. In this case, I'm going to ignore this message and click OK. Now we can see the vacating details screen. The tenancy start date is the date the tenancy started, and this is the same date as the date on the left-hand side here. Shintaro will ask you what date the tenancy ended, and this will be the last day that the tenant paid rent for this tenancy. The default will be today's date, but if you are vacating after the fact, you can always change this date to whatever you would like. You can either manually type the date in, or click the calendar control and select the date from there. When we vacate a tenancy, we leave the room in one of two states. Vacant tenantable means it's ready to be tenanted again immediately, or vacant untenantable, which means it cannot be tenanted immediately because maintenance has to be done to the room, it may need cleaning, or any other reason it cannot be used now. So there might be a period where the room is not able to be tenanted. We enter in a reason for leaving, which is used for reporting purposes, and we'll say that this client has moved interstate. The exit point is again used for reporting purposes, and in this instance, we do not know the exit point, so we will put unknown in the exit point field. We can put in any exit comments we would like here, and once we have completed these entries, we click on the Vacate button. Then we get this message, "Are you sure you want to vacate this tenant?" And we will click yes because I am sure I would like to vacate this client. And then we get another message. This message says, "If you wish to use the payment book ID CHA10 for another tenancy, press yes, otherwise press no." If we press yes to this message and we vacate the tenancy, the payment book ID here will be set to nothing, so that payment book ID can be used again. If we click no, that payment book ID will stay there and we cannot put it into another tenancy because Shintaro only allows one instance of each payment book ID. In this case, I will say yes, and you will see that the payment book ID has now gone, and we are unable to click the vacate button. We can also see that the vacated date has now been entered here, and if we go back to the tenancy search screen, we can see that Gary's tenancy status is now vacated and in arrears. If we go back into his tenancy, we can see that an exit note has been generated saying that the client was vacated on the 17th of the 7th, 2011. Had we entered any comments in the comments box before, they would show in this note. So that's all there is to vacating a tenancy, but let's have a look at what to do if we vacate a tenancy by error. Say we get to this point and we realise that we should have either done something else, or we may have vacated the wrong tenancy. If no one else has been tenanted in that room, we can always unvacate the tenancy. To do this, we double click on the words vacated date, and we get the warning message that this tenancy will become active again. Do you want to do this? And I will say yes. Now the tenancy is no longer vacated. After we vacate a tenancy, we can still enter transactions into the Tenancy Transactions window, so let's try that. We'll click Vacate again, enter in our fields, reason for leaving, exit point, and let's say that Gary is paying back the arrears he owes and he turns up to our office today with $100 cash. We can enter in this transaction as a rent payment, paying $100, and in the comments, something like paid cash to reception. So just because a tenancy has been vacated doesn't mean that you can't enter transactions against it. You may have an arrangement with a tenant who is paying some of their arrears off after they've vacated, and they are paying by centre pay, which will be important against the tenancy, just like it would for a tenant who is not vacated.